Two, one. All right, so I'm here with Zolim Duran, and Zolim was like everybody's adorable kid. You were like 20 or so when Radio Titans Downtown hit, and you're a very talented musician. I forget the names of your bands. If you can remind me,
Oh,
the
it was
Reveltones, right?
Reveltones. Yes, that was the
Yeah.
band that I had co-created and co-founded with Keith Taylor. And then I was also a part of a reggae group called Dread Days, which they're still going on, but I've long left the band since 2018. So
Oh, okay.
mhm.
Yeah, so you're a musician and you also learned how to do sound with us. And at some point, you were one of the people who wound up living inside the Radio Titan suite of offices. And so we're going to talk about
Yeah.
all that here. So,
Oh boy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I won't
how
talk
did you?
about how I try to shower there because that part will be
Oh,
private.
come on, come on. Can you? That'd be awesome. Please.
I
Okay.
mean, well, we're talking about just a sink bath, Upset, I'm
Yeah.
too big for the sink, so I'd have to shower in part one, part two, and then part private and part four. Like, it was just it was interesting living there, especially because we had the 24-hour access, and I couldn't be said, no, you can't be here in the middle of the night. It's like, well, how do you know I'm not working in the middle of the night? That was the cool thing about that. But anyways, let's get going with the interview. I'm sorry, I kind of
No,
getting
no, that
ahead
was
here.
funny. I'm going to probably use some of that. No,
Okay.
so it was okay. So speaking of the bathroom, so I don't forget, I think Patrick was telling me that sometimes you guys would be in there taking turns washing, and like the lawyers and other people in suits that would come that worked in other offices would open the door, then be like, "Oh shit," and like back out. Do you recall that happening? Like people walking in on you
Yeah,
having a
yep, yep. And luckily we weren't like, completely like stripped or anything like that. We usually like kept on at least some clothes, and it was just it was a different experience altogether. It's kind of like if you're homeless in a park bathroom, upset you're in an office and you're not homeless, but you're also kind of just like, well, I kind of need to wash myself at least so I don't stink, because I'm pretty sure the guests of the show would, and the people of the show, the hosts of the show would definitely appreciate that. No, it was quite an experience because like you kind of had to gauge when you would be able to do it, because there have been several times that we would do it kind of like in the middle of the day, and that was on us because we'd
oh,
either slept in too much or whatever, but usually we would try to find time between like 3 and 4 in the morning, sometime where there wasn't much activity going on.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, so how did you first hear about Radio Titans? Like, what drew you to us?
So I got a bit of a story to this, but it all kind of leads down to me meeting Edgar Hernandez at Rafa's. And so I had seen Jake and some of the other folks at Radio Titans at Rafa's before, but I never really spoke to them that much. And well, when I saw Edgar's band Blind Out at the time perform, I was hooked. And so I actually kind of followed Blind Out for a bit, just like going to several of their shows, and I happened to meet them up at the Five Star Bar in downtown LA, and that's where, of course, Jake was there, and I believe a few other people were there too. We're talking about the studio, and this was just like a few days before the launch party, the relaunch party. So we actually, since it was in downtown, we actually went to the studio to just come check it out. And I had just recently graduated from sound school, so I was actually like still trying to gain more experience on my resume, and it just kind of we found each other more or less. I found them, but they found me, and it just like we clicked, and I was like, okay, for sure, I'm down for this gig, especially after seeing the 6 suite office room. I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely down for this experience.
Yeah, because I mean, I talked with Christina Z last night, the lovely receptionist of the block,
It was
and
lovely.
she couldn't believe, like she said, she walked in one time and saw a mattress in one of the rooms, but that she just thought, well, maybe that's just a couch or to them. Like
there was a
had no
couch
way.
and there was a mattress. Yeah, I do remember the mattress being there, but I also do remember the mattress being like something that we were trying to use to kind of muffle the sound because it's an office space. So like the sound would sometimes travel between the suites there. So we were trying to use that mattress to kind of muffle the sound a bit too. So,
Okay, well,
and it
she
doubled
just,
as a little rest stop, you know.
yeah, well, she said that she had no idea that anybody was living there. She was like, oh my God, when I was like telling her about you and Patrick having to be crammed together in the storage room. So
That happened later though. That didn't happen immediately. That was a bit later. I guess I could say it had been about a couple months into Radio Titans when I decided to be there. One, because I was just spending so much time at Radio Titans. It was actually starting to like feel like I was at Radio Titans more than my own room, you know. And you know, just economically speaking, you know.
yeah. So then what did you think of the overall vibe of what we were trying to create? Because I think that from what everybody's telling me, they really think that we were both cutting edge at the time to do like try to do shows live when a lot of podcasts would just tape and put
Tape
this.
and then
Huh?
yeah.
It was live, and
Yeah,
also the fact that we had live instruments in the studio and bands could actually record, and or we would have live music shows during
I think the
episodes.
live music was a real huge hook. Like it was a real, it created a lot of appeal for us. I think especially when we had the music shows that would host other bands, and they were happy to see that we had a drum set, that we had a PA system, that we like would be able to, you know, accommodate for them to perform live for us, and that was really cool. I think you're right about that. That like you know, we were cutting edge, but at the same time we kept it fresh, and I think that's like the large appeal of Radio Titans that Radio Titans had. So
And what do you think of? Because see, what I'm learning is that okay. So my part of the warts and all aspect of being my part of the downside of my what I brought to the table was a having the sleep disorder, falling asleep on a lot of things, and b I wasn't a very good businessman. I wasn't good at the promotions, but we still had this like amazing scene in there, and so everybody keeps telling me in these interviews, they're like, yeah, we could have maybe been bigger. That would have been nice if the numbers had blown up, which they never seemed to really. But that everybody was still super proud of what was done there. So, any thoughts along those lines? The idea of hey,
I
you're
I
around
I
such
think
great art.
I can mostly concur with that. That you know, we didn't really get huge numbers, which was, you know, I guess what kept us indie, right? We can call ourselves indie if we're not like super mainstream on that.
That's
But we
true.
did
Yeah.
produce a lot of great material and good content. And also, you brought on very, like, not just you, but the other hosts as well, had brought on very stimulating guests. And look, I feel privileged and honored to have been there to do the sound for those shows. I think I learned a lot about those. I think one of the most educational ones that I felt was that dog training show with Tanya
Huh.
Yarborough. That was
Yeah.
actually one of my favorite song like shows that I did sound for. But like I said, like there was a lot for everyone there to be proud of in terms of the material. Granted, we also had like that live on the air component, and that was actually really cool because we actually got some listeners internationally
Oh
through that
wow.
too.
Huh.
And I remember hosting a jam session in which we had listeners even in Peru, even in Mexico, and I think there were a few like in Spain and in other places, you know. Oh, and Brazil. Actually, I do remember that during that jam session, we had an artist by the name of Daniel Sarto. It's been a long time. It's been about 7 years, but he
Yeah.
was from Brazil, and he just happened to like be there in downtown that night. So he came by. He swung by and was jamming for about maybe an hour with us. And his listeners were listening the live jam session, which I think that jam session went on until about 3 in the morning. It was really cool. That like I will always look back on fondness of like those late night sessions where we were doing something live. If not, I was doing something to edit. A lot of editing was done over the night, especially the editing and the posting and making sure that the WordPress. That's where I first learned how to WordPress was through Radio Titans. But it was really quite an experience. And I
What
think there
about
was a lot for people to be proud of there.
thanks. Any favorite moments of I know you're a married man, so what maybe after
No.
watching this,
There's a lot
I
of
don't-
favorite moments that I had there.
yeah.
And I feel like the shows that I did the sound for, most of them held a dear place for me in some way or another. Even the Cause Effect, I liked being the sound guy for the Cause Effect on Saturday mornings. I think it was Saturday mornings, right? Because Sunday was the and we always had a good time over the set. Usually there was a lot for us to talk about, especially during that time. But I mean, little did we know what would come next. But like every show had, I feel, something for me personally to take away from. And one of the shows that I really enjoyed doing was It's Me, God with Elizabeth Thomas. That one was one that I remember a lot of fond memories about. So I have a lot of fond memories about the individual shows. As far as like the stuff that Radio Titans did as a collective, there were events that we had put on and events that we had joined. I know that when we were involved with the Bang Bang and in the music video there, that was quite a interesting turn there. But at least we got to meet Ron Jeremy and Slash and got to sit on a Thunderdome for like 15 hours. I'm just kidding. It wasn't 15 hours, but it felt like it, right? It was like about like 5 hours. But no, it was a lot of good times that I remember. And I to try and come down to just one or two, it's impossible for me, because it's cool. Like it's like living in it's like being with the circus. It's like there's not just one really cool time. It's like a string of cool and fun times, and then sometimes it wouldn't be so cool, But no, it was for the most part very exciting and very enthralling.
What was something that was uncool? And because we're being totally honest in this documentary, that's so anything that you thought was less so?
Well, the fact that like we lacked a lot of sponsorships meant that like the funding that we had mostly went into the production. So I did feel like there would be times that I would kind of struggle in terms of like, maybe I was a skinny kid because I didn't really have much to eat at that point. So I do remember that was kind of one of the things that was a bit of a downer. But I mean, it's also kind of like you're a young broke artist, so you're living that life, and especially when you're also doing music and you're a part of this. So it was also nice because we did a lot of plugs. I had a lot of friends that were on the shows, including Edgar Hernandez, who hosted Downtown Underground. He was like one of my closest friends that still is to this day. The Letters Home with Andrew Monheim, who was with you on Pajama Party, I think Monday nights, right? And that was also really cool. And touching on another aspect, I think both of them are enjoying relative success with their music, and I'm happy for them, and that they are able to continue with music and continue with with doing what their calling seems to be.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna hit stop. Hang on.